Next, we have the seed plants. Now we have pollen and seeds. Now it doesn't have to rely on water. Now it can rely on wind. So the gymnosperms, they make seeds. Seeds, they can lay dormant in the ground for a really, really long time before the conditions are right, and then they can start germinating. They protect the embryos, plant embryos, and sometimes they also provide nutrient supply. That's an adaptation. Seeds are able to travel far away from the parent. Maybe there's less competition there, and they only germinate when the conditions are favorable. Maybe there's enough food and nutrients in the soil. There is water available, so they can germinate when the conditions are right. I want you guys to know what gymnosperm stands for. The word gym stands for naked, and sperm, so this comes from Greek, the term gymnosperm. Gym means naked, sperm means seed. So gymnasium is where a bunch of naked people worked out. So that's where the word comes from, gymnosperm. So they're plants with the vascular tissue. Now they have xylem and phloem. They also have seeds, such as pine trees. So most of you probably know these as cone trees or pine trees. So make sure you guys write this down, gymnosperm naked seed. Now the plants that I want you guys to know are cycads, ginkgos, and conifers and neophytes. So let me see, I want to show you one more thing before we move on. So I think I already mentioned the dominant stage for the fern plant, but I want to show you why it's the dominant stage. So the native plant in New Zealand, a fern plant, it can grow this big. Imagine you go in a forest, you won't even see that gametophyte. You only see the sporophyte. That's why that's the dominant stage here. That's all you see. It can turn into really, really big tree. So this grew from that tiny size of your pinky nail gametophyte into this big of a tree. So this is why this is a dominant state. Also, during Carboniferous period, there were lots of fern trees and moss plants. So those are the ones that were burned down, and that's where the coal and the petroleum today coming from. So those were the plants that were found in the Carboniferous period as well. So for the gymnosperm, was there a question there?
Yeah, and they grow on this tall because they have this vascular tissue, the xylem and the phloem. Xylem takes water up, while phloem brings sugar down, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So the four types, I already said that mostly you guys think of gymnosperms as cone trees. So that's the conifers here. But other than that, I want you guys to know three more. This ginkgo biloba tree. So it doesn't look like a pine tree, but it's a gymnosperm. So it's ginkgo biloba. And the cycad, you might see these outside of your apartment building or outside of your office building. So these cycads, they look like fern trees, but they're gymnosperms. This ginkgo biloba tree, so if it's a male, it's not going to make this fruit. If it's a female, it's going to make this fruit. They're really good for the environment because they're really good at sucking carbon dioxide and the smog. So if you're planning to plant one, I would say plant the male one, because for the female one, it's going to, make this fruit, and the fruit's going to drop on the ground and you have to clean up. So these are really good for pollution. This neophyte, and this is from Africa. So I want you guys to know that that's native to Africa. That's also a gymnosperm. This is the type of fruit it makes. So make sure you guys know these four for the gymnosperms. So the reproductive structures. And leaf types, they're very diverse. You might just know them as cone trees, but they can be looking like these as well. So they're mostly woody trees or shrubs. So cycads, ginkgos, conifers, and neophytes. So I can say neophyte goes to which group, then you're gonna have to tell me it's a gymnosperm. Or tell me 4 trees um, that are gymnosperms, and you're gonna have to give me these 4 trees. So I already said that I don't want you guys to memorize the life cycle for the gymnosperm, but I'm gonna tell you what I need you guys to know. So I want you guys to know that there are 2 kinds of cones, male cones and female cones. I want you guys to know what they look like. So let me show you. So here is a male cone, that's a female cone. So make sure you guys can identify which one is a male cone and which one is a female cone. Be able to identify. Male cones are going to make pollen, so I want you guys to know that. Male cones make pollen. Female cones have eggs. For reproduction, they rely on the wind. And I've been saying, I said this a few times, they have to make trillions of pollen because it's very slim chance that the pollen is going to land on the egg. So it has to rely on the wind, and most of the pollen goes to waste. So it needs to find the female cone, so it's a very small chance, and maybe 1 to 2 eggs get fertilized. So let me show you actually how much pollen it makes. Maybe I can find a video. So he's going to smack this tree and watch how much pollen comes out. That's a lot of pollen. No wonder you guys have allergies. That's how much pollen is coming off. So it has to make lots of pollen. That's a lot of pollen. It's like dust. So again, know what male and female cones look like and what they make. Male cones make pollen, and we call them microspores because they're small in size. Female cones make eggs, and they're a little bit bigger than these, so we call them megaspores. Mega means big. Microspores and megaspores. Then the spores develop into gametophytes. Pollen grain is a gametophyte, male gametophyte, and egg is a female gametophyte. And that's called pollination. When this pollen grain lands on the egg, fertilization happens. That's called pollination. Pollination in gymnosperms happens through wind. Sometimes when there's pollination that has happened, squirrels, they take these cones and they start burying them. They have this stash, and sometimes they forget where they buried them. So that's when the tree starts to grow. So that's like an accident. The pollen grain is going to germinate the egg, producing a pollen tube. I'm not going to ask you the details. And then the sperm travels to the egg, and you have a zygote. So it is still following the alternation of generations. But make sure you guys know what these look like, what they make, and what these are called. And then the term pollination. So this whole cycle is going to repeat. After fertilization, it's going to go into embryo. So this is the pine nuts. So the ones that you can buy from the store, these are the pine nuts. So there's an embryo inside a seed and on a female cone scale, and then the seed germinates and grows. In the lab, we have these slides. Let's see. You would have seen these in the lab, and you would have to draw these. These slides show the difference between male and female cones and where the eggs are found. So it's the female cone. They make a slide out of it. That's where the eggs are found. So it's in the deeper part for protection. And then this is a male cone. This is where the pollen is made. So when you smack that, that's all the pollen that's coming out. So in the video, he was smacking some of the pine cones, male pine cones. So that's the overview. Again, look how complicated this is. That's why I'm not going to have you memorize these. Just make sure you guys know the male and female pine cones and what they make and what they're called.